point. Of course, I was down.
You think you know what a tennis upset looks like? Think again. Because what just went down at Indian Wells wasn't just a match, it was a seismic earthquake that shook the entire women's tennis establishment to its core. Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino phenom, didn't just beat Coco Gauff, she demolished her, crushed her spirit, made the reigning U.S. Open champion tap out mid-match like she was facing a force of nature she couldn't comprehend. And before we dive into the carnage, quick favor, if you're loving this content, smash that subscribe button. Over 92% of you are watching without subscribing. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and keeps Baseline Z bringing you the tennis drama you crave. Did you hit it? Awesome, thanks. Now let's get back to the massacre. Picture this, Indian Wells, California. The sun's blazing down on one of tennis's most prestigious hard courts. On one side, you've got Coco Gauff, the 20-year-old American superstar, Grand Slam champion, world number 3, darling of the tennis establishment. On the other side stands Eala, ranked outside the top 140, a qualifier who wasn't even supposed to be in the main draw. This was supposed to be a formality, a warm-up match for Gauff before the real tournament began. Instead, it turned into a public execution, and the world watched in stunned silence as everything they thought they knew about women's tennis got flipped upside down. The numbers tell part of the story. 96% first serve percentage. Yeah, you read that right. 96%. That's not a typo. That's not a glitch in the matrix. That's Eala serving like she's possessed by the ghost of Pete Sampras on his best day. For context, most professional players are thrilled to hit 70%. The all-time greats hover around 75 on a good day. Eala was dropping serves with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker and the power of a sledgehammer. Every single point. Gauff couldn't breathe, couldn't get into any rhythm, couldn't even blink without another ace whistling past her ears. But here's where it gets really interesting. The mainstream tennis media wants you to believe Gauff retired because of an injury, a mysterious ailment that conveniently appeared right when she was getting absolutely dismantled on court. How convenient. Look, nobody's saying injuries aren't real, but when you're down, when you're being outplayed at every turn, when your opponent is serving like she made a deal with the tennis gods themselves, suddenly discovering you're too hurt to continue starts looking less like bad luck and more like an emergency exit. And the internet saw right through it. Twitter erupted faster than Eala's forehand winners. One user wrote, "Gauff retired because her ego couldn't handle getting schooled by someone outside the top 140. That wasn't an injury, that was a surrender." Another chimed in, "Eala just sent Gauff into an early retirement with that serve. 96%. That's not tennis, that's surgery." The memes came flooding in like a tsunami. One showed Eala with a crown, captioned "The New Queen of Indian Wells," while another depicted Gauff frantically Googling how to return serves from the Philippines. Brutal? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. Now let's talk about what really happened on that court, because this wasn't just about serves. This was a psychological masterclass, a tactical demolition, a complete and utter breakdown of everything Gauff thought she could rely on. Eala didn't just show up to compete, she showed up to conquer. Every shot was calculated, every move was deliberate. She played like someone who had studied Gauff's game frame by frame, found every weakness, every hesitation, every tiny crack in the armor, and then exploited them with ruthless efficiency. This was chess at 140 miles per hour, and Gauff was 3 moves behind from the opening serve. The first set was a clinic. Eala came out firing with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was capable of. Ground strokes painted the lines like she was working with a ruler, returns that made Gauff's powerful serve look pedestrian. And that movement? Forget about it. Eala was gliding across the court like she had rocket boosters strapped to her shoes. Meanwhile, Gauff looked confused, rattled, like she'd walked into the wrong match. The American star kept glancing at her box, searching for answers that weren't coming, because there's no coaching tactic for "your opponent is playing perfect tennis."
Then came the second set, and this is where things got really uncomfortable for Gauff, because Eala didn't just maintain her level, she elevated it. The serves got faster, the placement got sharper, the mental fortress got even more impenetrable. Gauff was swinging at air, chasing shadows. Every time she thought she'd found a way back into the match, Eala would crush that hope with another unreturnable serve or a passing shot that left commentators speechless. This wasn't a match anymore. This was target practice, and Gauff was the bullseye. But let's address the elephant in the room, the retirement. Because when Gauff called for the trainer and then walked off the court, the tennis world split into two camps. Camp 1 said, she's injured, these things happen, no big deal. Camp 2 said she got broken, mentally, physically, spiritually, and she couldn't take it anymore. Here's the thing, both camps might have a point, but if you watched that match, if you saw the look in Gauff's eyes as Eala kept firing missiles past her, you saw something more than physical pain. You saw the realization that she'd met someone who was simply better that day. And sometimes that's harder to swallow than any injury. The timing matters too. This wasn't just any match. This was International Women's Day, a day celebrating women's achievements, women's strength, women's dominance in every field, including sports. And here comes Eala, representing the Philippines, representing every young girl who's been told she's too small, too unknown, too inexperienced to compete with the elite. Eala didn't just win a tennis match, she sent a message that echoed around the globe. The old guard, they're on notice. The hierarchy, it's crumbling. The future, it's already here. And it's wearing the colors of a nation that's never had a Grand Slam singles champion, but might be watching one being born right before their eyes. Let's talk about Eala's journey for a second, because this wasn't some overnight success story. This was years of grinding, training at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain, learning from one of the greatest champions the sport has ever seen. Nadal didn't just teach her how to hit forehands, he taught her how to be a fighter, how to compete with everything you've got, how to never surrender even when you're supposed to lose. And you could see that Nadal influence in every point Eala played. The intensity, the focus, the absolute refusal to give even an inch of court without making her opponent earn it. That's Rafa's DNA right there, and Gauff had no answer for it. The serve deserves its own paragraph, because honestly, we might be talking about this performance for years. 96% first serve percentage in a professional match against a top 3 player in the world. That's not just good, that's historic. That's the kind of number that gets taught in coaching seminars and analyzed in tennis laboratories. Every serve was a weapon, not just power, though Eala had plenty of that, but variety, placement, disguise. She hit serves wide that pulled Gauff off the court, serves down the tee that left her jammed up, serves to the body that left her flailing. And Gauff, for all her athletic ability and Grand Slam pedigree, couldn't solve the puzzle, couldn't even crack the code. She was like a student taking a test in a language she'd never studied.
And here's what makes this even more delicious. Gauff is supposed to be one of the best returners in women's tennis. That's her calling card, her superpower. She breaks down servers with her speed, her anticipation, her ability to turn defense into offense in the blink of an eye. But Eala said, not today, not even close. She neutralized Gauff's biggest strength by simply not giving her anything to work with. Can't be a great returner if you can't even get your racket on the ball. It's like showing up to a knife fight and your opponent brought a tank. The aftermath has been equally fascinating. Social media exploded with tributes to Eala. Filipino fans went absolutely wild, trending hashtags and flooding Instagram with celebratory posts. Former players started chiming in, acknowledging what they'd just witnessed. Even casual tennis fans who barely know what a backhand is were sharing clips of Eala's serves and marveling at the dominance. This wasn't just a tennis story anymore. This was a cultural moment, a generational changing of the guard broadcast live to millions. But let's circle back to Gauff for a moment, because this loss, whether she retired or not, whether she was injured or not, this is gonna sting.
This is the kind of defeat that keeps you up at night, that makes you question everything, that forces you to rebuild from the ground up. Gauff's going to have to figure out how to process getting completely outplayed by someone the rankings said she should beat easily. She's going to have to explain to her team, her sponsors, her fans, how a qualifier made her look like she'd never picked up a racket before. And most importantly, she's going to have to face the reality that the gap between her and the next generation might not be as wide as everyone thought. Meanwhile, Eala's life just changed forever. She went from being a name most casual fans couldn't pronounce to being the girl who broke Coco Gauff. The exposure alone is worth millions. The confidence boost? Priceless. Because now she knows. She knows she can hang with the best. She knows her game translates against top-tier competition. She knows that when everything's on the line, when the spotlight's brightest, when the pressure's suffocating, she can deliver. And that knowledge? That's the difference between being a solid player and becoming a champion. The tennis world is still processing what happened. Coaches are re-watching the match, breaking down Eala's tactics. Opponents are studying her game, looking for weaknesses that might not exist. Tournament directors are scrambling to get her into their draws. And somewhere in the Philippines, a nation of over 110 million people just discovered they have a new sports hero, a young woman who took on America's tennis princess and didn't just win, she dominated, she conquered, she announced her arrival with the subtlety of a volcanic eruption. So what's next? For Gauff, it's soul-searching time. Time to regroup, retool, and come back stronger. For Eala, it's about capitalizing on this moment, riding the wave, proving this wasn't a fluke, but the beginning of something special. And for the rest of us, we just witnessed history, a match that will be replayed in highlight reels for decades, a performance that redefined what's possible when preparation meets opportunity and talent meets courage. In the end, tennis gave us exactly what sports should deliver: drama, emotion, an underdog story that makes you believe in miracles, and a reminder that rankings, reputations, and expectations mean absolutely nothing once you step between those lines. Eala didn't care that she was supposed to lose. She showed up, played the match of her life, and made the tennis world remember her name. And Coco Gauff, well, she learned a painful lesson that every champion eventually faces. Somebody's always coming, always hungry, always ready to take what you've got. The throne isn't permanent, the crown gets passed. And yesterday at Indian Wells, we might have just witnessed the moment it changed hands. Welcome to the new era of women's tennis, and it speaks with a Filipino accent.